In the underbelly of Lagos, beneath the street lights and the glint of luxury cars, lies a secret not meant for the living. They call it blood and Benz. Because every Mercedes that cruises these roads runs not on fuel but on screams. In every corner of Nigeria, young men dream of making it big, of shaking poverty off their skin like dust. Some choose the hustle. Some choose the spirits. The beginning of hunger. Kola was the first to go missing. A final year student at the University of Lagos. Intelligent, popular, but born in poverty. His father was a mechanic. His mother sold groundnut at the roadside. Kola hated the smell of engine oil. He hated poverty. But more than anything, he hated being invisible. He wanted more. Not just money. Power. Fear. Respect. And then, he met Ibuka. Ibuka drove a 2022 G-Wagon. Nobody knew what he did. But there were whispers of Yahoo Plus, of blood money, of a shrine in a forest where goats were not enough, where the gods demanded warm skin and beating hearts. Kola laughed at first, until Ibuka said something that stuck. You dey do no more Yahoo. You go use MTN to beg woman wey dey chop dollars. Brothers, no blood dey talk now. If you no give, you no go get. The meeting. Kola followed him one night. A black Benz with tinted windows took them past Bedegri, past the police checkpoint, where the officers greeted them like kings. They entered the forest. It was cold. Too cold for a Nigerian night. They walked for what felt like hours. Then, there it was. A shrine made of rotten wood, red cloth, bones. And sitting in the center was her, the priestess of the 13th gate. Blind eyes, long nails. Her voice sounded like a whisper from the grave. Are you ready? She asked. Yes, Kola said. You will see your first blood in the mirror. The one you fear losing the most. That is your gift. That is your curse. And just like that, the ritual began. The dream. That night, Kola dreamt of his younger sister, Tiniola. She was tied to a tree, crying, calling his name. He woke up screaming, sweating, heart racing. He called her immediately. Tenny, you okay? Yes, she said, confused. Why? He didn't answer. He looked in the mirror. Behind him, for a split second, he saw Ibuka's face. Grinning, but bleeding from the eyes. Initiation. Kola didn't speak for 3 days. Then, he bought a new phone. iPhone 15 Pro Max paid in full. He started wearing gold chains, clubbing, popping bottles. He was no longer invisible. But every night, he dreamt of Tenny. Each time, she looked more frightened. And each time, she begged louder. Please Kola, don't let them take me. Then the call started. From unknown numbers. Heavy breathing. Whispers like, she is ours now. The first offering. Ibuka returned. You ready for your first real step? He asked. Kola nodded. Afraid, but too deep to turn back. They drove to a remote compound. Inside was a girl, blindfolded, gagged, crying. A kidnapped schoolgirl. Just slice her palm, Ibuka said. Let the blood touch the idol. You don't need to kill her. But Kola's hands shook. I didn't sign up for this, he said. But you want Benz? Yes, but... Then shut up. And cut. And he did. The girl screamed, blood dripped onto the idol. It glowed. Suddenly, Kola felt a heat rise in his chest. His heart raced. He felt powerful. Untouchable. Alive. That night, he bought his first Benz. The money poured in. Every day, there was another alert. Another girl. Another sacrifice. But something changed. At night, the idol whispered, "You fed me innocence, now I want love." Then, his mother died in her sleep. No illness. No explanation. Just cold. At the funeral, Tiniola cried on his shoulder. He felt her heartbeat. And for the first time, he wondered if she was the one the idol wanted all along. The mirror cracks. Kola tried to back out. He stopped going to the shrine. He ignored Ibuka's calls. But strange things began to happen. His Benz refused to start until he bled on the steering. His face stopped showing in mirrors. At night, he heard his mother's voice screaming from the boot of his car. And then, Tiniola disappeared. Last seen entering a red car with tinted windows. The same one he had bought. He ran to the police. They laughed. "Oga Benz, know your people they run these streets. You know no?" The return. Kola broke. He returned to the shrine. He fell on his knees. "Please, I'll do anything. Just bring her back." The priestess only smiled. The gods do not give. They exchange. You gave her once. She is theirs now. I didn't mean to. But your Benz did not mind. Kola wept. The mirror cracked. And in it, he saw himself. But his eyes were black. And Tiniola's voice whispered, "Brother, why did you choose me?" The hunt begins. Now, Kola rides his Benz alone. He doesn't pick girls anymore. He doesn't sleep. Every night, he hears screams from his boot. Every time he looks in the mirror, Tiniola stares back, eyes hollow, skin pale, lips red with blood. And behind her, more faces. Girls. Boys. Children. All sacrificed. All watching. All waiting. Because the Benz never runs out of hunger. They say if you stare at yourself long enough in a mirror, you won't see your face. You'll see your truth. And Kola was now staring at a truth he could not escape. Reflections and regret. Kola didn't sleep anymore. Each time he closed his eyes, the dreams returned. Tiniola, covered in blood, tied to the Benz's bonnet, screaming for help he could never give. He had everything now, money, power, luxury. But no peace. The girls kept coming. Ibuka kept calling. And the mirror in his bedroom. It no longer reflected light. Only darkness. One night, he had 3 knocks on his door. No one was there. But on the floor was a note written in dried blood. You started this. You must finish it. The boys behind the blood. Kola was never alone in this. There were 4 others. Ibuka, the one who brought him in, the recruiter, the engine. Shola, the enforcer, quiet, cold, always carried a blade. Moth, the charmer, smooth-talking Yahoo boy who dated pastors' daughters for targets. Taupe, the youngest, scared, but greedy. Still new. Still human. They called themselves the drivers. Because they all drove Benz. And every Benz was baptized in blood. Ibuka called a meeting in a shortlet on Admiralty Way. Blood on the white sheets. Candles lit in circles. And in the middle, a new mirror. Black. Deep. Whispering. The girl who didn't die. Ibuka spoke. Something is wrong. One of our offerings survived. Kola's heart dropped. What? The schoolgirl. The one from Ibadan. She didn't die. She escaped. Shola hissed. We were careful. The priestess confirmed. She's in a hospital. Named Samara. And she's talking. Kola stood. We shouldn't have taken her. She was a pastor's daughter. Too close to God. Ibuka slammed the table. Shut up. You think these gods care about churches? The Benz is hungry. And if we don't finish the job, it will eat us. They all turned to the mirror. It shimmered, moved, breathed, and then a hand reached from inside. A burnt, skeletal hand holding a rosary. Tope's regret. Tope couldn't take it anymore. That night, he drove to his mother's house in Suraleh. He knelt before her. "Mama, I did something terrible." His mother, a prayer warrior, sensed it. She held him, prayed over him, poured olive oil on his head. That night, he dreamt of fire. And in the flames stood Tiniola and the other victims, whispering his name. "Tope, you can't leave." When he woke, his Benz was gone. Stolen. No. It was parked outside, but covered in blood. Inside, on the back seat, were the words carved in flesh. "Renew or return. Amora's awakening." Meanwhile, Amora, the survivor, woke up in Lagos General. She couldn't speak much. Throat still damaged. But she could draw. And she kept drawing the same thing. A black Benz, with a plate number ending in 666. And behind the wheel, a boy with no eyes. The police didn't listen. They were bought. But one person paid attention, Inspector Ifani, an old cop with nothing left to lose. He had seen similar cases. Unsolved murders. Missing girls. Cars abandoned in forests with blood inside but no bodies. He made a promise. "Even if I die, I'll bring these demons down." The Benz wants blood. Kola tried to quit. He packed the Benz. Burned incense. Fasted. Prayed. He even went to a prophet in Ibadan. The prophet saw him and screamed, "Leave this place. You carry death inside you." But the Benz followed him. It appeared wherever he went. Sometimes parked across his street. Sometimes inside his compound. One night, it was in his room. Yes. In his room. The engine revved. The horn blared. The rearview mirror bled. Kola wept. He called Ibuka. "I'm done. I want out." Ibuka laughed. "Then die. That's the only exit, brother." The mirror's demand. The mirror showed its full face. Not just glass anymore, but a portal. To somewhere dark. Burning. Screaming. And in it, Kola saw them, the ones he helped kill. The schoolgirl. The blind beggar from Yoba. The maid from Abuja. They were all chanting. "Blood for Benz. Blood for Benz. Blood for Benz." Then Tiniola appeared again. Only this time, she wasn't crying. She was smiling. Her voice was cold. "Brother, if you won't give them more blood, they'll take yours next." The first death. Shola was the first to die. They found his Benz upside down on 3rd Mainland Bridge. But no scratch on the body. No blood. His eyes were missing. Only a message on the windscreen. "Debt unpaid." The shrine confirmed it. "The gods are angry," the priestess said. "One offering survived. Your pact is broken." Ibuka gathered them. "We end this now. We kill the girl. Or we all burn." The hunter arrives. Inspector Ifani followed the clues. He saw the shrine. He didn't go in. But he watched. He saw the Benz. He saw Ibuka. He wrote everything down. And when he looked into the shrine's mirror, he didn't see himself. He saw Amara. Standing. Pointing. Whispering. "Bring them. Bring all of them here. We'll be waiting." Low drums rise. Ominous music fades in. Thunder again. The mirror no longer lies. It shows death. It shows death. And it demands more. The boys thought they could trade blood for Benz. But now the Benz wants their souls. Blood is a promise. And in the midnight shrine, promises are paid in screams. The boys thought they could hide from the gods. But in the end, no Benz ever outruns a curse. Burial without a body. Shola was dead. But no funeral could be held. His corpse was found without eyes, without tongue, and without explanation. No one claimed the body, except the mirror. Kola lit 7 candles and placed the mirror on his table. He stared into it. And once again, he saw her. Tiniola. This time, she was not crying. She was chanting. And behind her stood Ebuka, Tope, Mof, all screaming, but their mouths sewn shut. Amora speaks. Amora, the girl who escaped, finally spoke. After weeks of silence, she opened her eyes, stared at Inspector Ifani and whispered, "They kill to eat, and feed to ride." "Who?" the inspector asked. "The Benz boys," she said, "but it's not just them anymore. The car, it moves on its own now. It waits outside hospitals, churches, schools." She pulled out a drawing. It was a road, lined with tombstones. At the end of the road, a shrine. At the center of the shrine, a mirror. And inside the mirror, a mouth. Wide. Hungry. Open. Tope tries to escape. Tope couldn't take it anymore. He ran to Cotonou. No phone. No calls. No contact with the others. He started attending a deliverance church. He slept inside it. For 3 nights, all was peaceful. Then the priest who sheltered him died in his sleep, his face twisted, tongue missing. Tope woke up, screaming. His Benz was parked outside the church. But this time, he had left the keys in Nigeria. He opened the boot. Inside, there was a coffin. It had his name on it. Mofe betrays them. Mof, the charmer, wasn't scared. Not really. He thought he could play both sides. He started consulting a different Babalawo, one that used marine spirits. "I want protection," Mof said. "And power to destroy the others." The man warned him. "You don't betray blood. You deepen it." But Mof was already gone. He wore red beads. He recited incantations. And that night, he went to Ebuka's house with a blade hidden in his agbada. The shrine demands a sacrifice. Ebuka wasn't surprised. He already knew. He welcomed Mof with palm wine. They sat. Drank. Then Ebuka stood and whispered, "The shrine told me you were coming." He opened his palm. Inside was a mirror shard, glowing. He pushed it into Mof's chest. Mof screamed, but his blood turned black. His body folded in 2. His mouth opened wide. And from his throat, a swarm of flies poured out. Ebuka buried him at midnight, behind the shrine. But the earth refused the body. By dawn, Mof's corpse was sitting upright on Ebuka's bed. Kola returns to the shrine. Kola had enough. He returned to the shrine alone. The priestess was waiting. Older now. Or younger. He couldn't tell. "I want to save my sister," Kola said. "Then take her place," the priestess answered. He offered her money. She burned it. He offered her blood. She drank it. He screamed. She smiled. "You were not chosen. You were summoned. You don't drive the Benz. It drives you." Spirits in the road. That night, on 3rd Mainland Bridge, Tope crashed. Not into a car. Not into a wall. Into nothing. His Benz flipped 7 times and landed upside down, but he crawled out, unhurt. People gathered. They looked inside. There was no engine. Only bones. Bones and a mirror. In the mirror, a little girl was crying and calling his name. "Tope, you left me." Tiniola's return. Meanwhile, Kola's sister, Tiniola, was found wandering on the road near Sagamo. Naked. Mud-stained. Crying blood. She didn't remember anything. Only one thing she kept saying. My brother drives a Benz. But the car drives demons. They took her to a hospital. The lights flickered all night. By morning, 2 nurses were found dead. Drained. White as chalk. Tiniola was gone. Only a note on the wall. Written in blood. The road back is closed. The final ritual. Ibuka called the last meeting. Only Kola and Tope came. They lit the black candles. Drew the circle. Placed the mirror in the center. And waited. The priestess didn't come. But something else did. Move's corpse. It walked in. Sat down. And opened its mouth. From inside came a voice. Your pact is broken. Your mirror is cracked. Only one of you can survive. The Benz needs a new heart. Ibuka drew his knife. Tope cried. Kola closed his eyes. Then, the mirror shattered. Blood in the bonnet. In the aftermath, Ibuka vanished. His house burned down. Nobody found. Tope was found in a church, his skin covered in writing, names of all their victims. Kola was last seen walking barefoot on a Koi bridge. The Benz. Still on the road. New driver. New plates. But same smell. Blood. You can sell your soul in Nigeria. For power. For women. For Benz. But you never own the deal. The gods do. And when they come for payment, no road is far enough. No shrine is deep enough. No Benz is fast enough. The dead have no eyes. Because they no longer need to see. They feel. They remember. And when the blood you spilled finds its voice, it watches you sleep. The girl on the bonnet. Voiceover. It started with a whisper in a Koi. A traffic officer tried to stop a black Benz. No license plate. Tinted windows. Moving too fast. The car stopped. The officer approached. And on the bonnet was a girl. A little girl. Pale. Still. Eyes wide open. But the officer saw something else. Her eyes were not glassy, they were moving. Tracking him. Oga, no prank ABI, he asked nervously. The girl opened her mouth. No tongue. Just a voice in the officer's head. Tell them, we are awake. He screamed. Collapsed. By the time others ran to help him, the car was gone. Tope in the ward. Tope was now under police protection. But he was no longer himself. He sat in silence, drawing symbols with his own blood. On the walls. On his skin. On the food they gave him. He spoke only once, to Inspector Ifani. You can't stop the mirror. It's not in the shrine anymore. It's in the cars. In the phones. In the eyes. Whose eyes? The inspector asked. Everyone who watched the killings. Everyone who stayed quiet. Nigeria itself. Scene 3, the public sees the haunting. People began to talk. A Benz driving down Anthony Way reversed into a wall. But there was no driver inside. A mother reported her son disappearing after entering a rideshare Benz. Only his soul came home, screaming at night, pointing at walls. TikTok videos surfaced. A woman recorded a Benz driving itself down the Lekki Expressway. No driver. No wheels turning. The license plate was 666 Tenny. Then the real horror began. The video that ended in blood. At the urging of Prophet Chibuzo, a large night vigil was held at Tafoe Bewa Square. To cast out the spirits from the road. Thousands came. The pastor shouted in tongues. Burnt sage. Smashed mirrors on stage. The sky turned black. Then, a Benz drove onto the stage. Slow. Silent. Lights off. The doors opened. Nothing inside. But the rearview mirror faced the crowd. And in it, they saw every victim. Bleeding. Screaming. Pointing at the crowd. One man went blind instantly. Another ran into traffic, shouting, "I buried her. I buried her alive." The video turned into a mass panic. 15 dead. No car was found afterward. Only tire tracks made of blood. Kola in the other world. Kola no longer walked in this world alone. He had become half dead. Each night, he entered a dream world, a black and red wasteland where Benzes drove in circles, no drivers, only shadows screaming in the backseat. He met them there, the ones he helped sacrifice. The blind beggar. The kidnapped schoolgirl. The woman who was buried but kept breathing for hours. They never attacked him. They only asked one question. "Do you hear us now?" "Yes," Kola whispered. "Then tell the world. Tell them our names. Or we will take theirs." The spirit video. Someone uploaded a video. It went viral in hours. CCTV footage of a Benz entering an estate in Lekki at 3:03 a.m. Inside was a buka. But something was wrong. He was levitating, his head twisted backward, his tongue writing symbols in blood on the windscreen. In the back seat, Tiniola. But she wasn't dead. She looked directly into the camera and said one word. "Justice." Then the screen went black. The shrine destroys itself. The original shrine, the one in Bedegri, was found. Burned to the ground. But the fire had come from inside the soil. Police entered the ruins. They found 47 bones, 13 mirrors, a red Bible soaked in blood, and a charred body still clutching a steering wheel. The body had Ibuka's DNA. But no one believed it. Because at that same moment, Ibuka was live streaming from inside a car, smiling, covered in ash, whispering. The mirror was never in the shrine. It's inside you now. Inspector Ifoni sees the truth. The inspector had seen enough. He traveled to every shrine, questioned every priest. They all said the same thing. "You're not investigating boys. You're investigating a god." That night, he stared into his bathroom mirror. And he saw them. All of them. Hundreds of dead children. Women. Men. Not just from the Benz boys. But from politicians. Cultists. Ritualists across Nigeria. He dropped to his knees and wept. Then he heard Tiniola's voice in his head. "If the law won't punish them, we will." The Benz showdown. A woman, one of the Benz boys' former victims' mothers, went viral on Instagram Live. She had seen the car that took her daughter years ago. And it returned, parked outside her house. She walked up to it, with a Bible in one hand and kerosene in the other. She doused the car, lit the match. The Benz screamed. Not the horn, not the engine, the car itself. A human scream from its metal. The fire spread fast, but didn't consume. Instead, the flames froze, and from them stepped every spirit. Not ghosts. Avengers. Their eyes white. Their mouths stitched. Their pain no longer silent. They walked the streets. And everyone who had ever offered blood for power felt it. In their chests. In their dreams. In their mirrors. The Benz doesn't kill for money. It kills for silence. But now, the silence has been broken. And the dead, they are wide awake. There's a river in Ogun State that no one crosses after midnight. They say if you do, your car won't make it across. Not because the bridge is broken, but because the river knows. The river has seen it all. Every sacrifice. Every blood-soaked ritual. Every Benz that washed its sins in the night. And now, the river remembers. Return to the river. Inspector Ifoni stood at the edge of the Ogun River. In one hand, he held the case file filled with names, faces, CCTV footage, shrine coordinates, and unexplained deaths. In the other, he held a rosary. He was tired. His hands shook. He'd buried 3 officers in 1 week, all of them found with mirror shards in their throats. One word carved into each chest: silence. But Ifeanyi had heard the screams now, and he was ready to listen. The final ritual, renewal night. In a secret bush path outside Sango-Ota, the last 2 surviving Benz boys, Kola and Ebuka, returned to the midnight shrine. It was different now. Bigger. Colder. The priestess was gone. Replaced by something older. A wooden figure carved like a woman, weeping blood. Flies around her feet. No mouth. Only eyes. The renewal night had arrived. Ebuka was laughing. Kola, this is it. After tonight, we disappear. New lives. Abroad. No more spirits. No more shadows. Just Benz and billions. Kola said nothing. He had aged 10 years in 6 months. His skin pale. His hair falling out. His sleep filled with screams. They placed a new offering at the shrine, a boy, 13 years old. Mute. Orphan. Just as they raised the dagger, the idol screamed. Not from its mouth. From its eyes. Blood burst from the wooden sockets, spraying them both. The boy vanished. Not escaped. Vanished. As if the air swallowed him whole. Ebuka fell to his knees. Kola began to laugh. It's over. We're not feeding it anymore. It's feeding on us. The mirror on the altar shattered. Amora's new power. Amora, the girl who escaped, was no longer hiding. She had changed. Some said she had been touched by the spirits. Others called her a host. A vessel. But one thing was clear, she was no longer fully human. She walked barefoot, even in the rain. She could see without turning. And when she entered a room, all mirrors fogged up. She found Kola's mother's old church. Stood on the altar. And in front of a terrified congregation, she said, "The blood didn't just stain the ground. It soaked the bones of this country. You think this is about Benz? This is about memory. And memory never forgets." The return of the dead. In Suralia, the first public haunting happened at a car dealership. A brand new 2025 Benz GLE started on its own. Reversed through glass. Hit a customer, but no injuries. Instead, the man stood up, eyes rolled back, and began reciting every name of the shrine's victims. Over 60 names. In languages he didn't speak. He collapsed. And died. Inside the car, they found a melted steering wheel. And a rosary embedded in the seat. Kola tries to warn the world. Kola ran. He left Lagos. He made it to a small radio station in Ajibu. He asked for 10 minutes on air. They gave him 3. And in those 3 minutes, he told the world everything. We were boys. We just wanted money. But the car we drove was a coffin. The leather seats were made of skin. The mirrors are eyes. The fuel is blood. And every time you look away from the killings, you become a passenger. The transmission cut off. Static. When engineers entered the room, Kola was gone. The mic was still warm. And the studio window had a bloody palm print. The police command falls. Back in Lagos, Inspector Ifeanyi tried to issue a federal warning. He gathered proof, bones from the shrine, Amora's drawings, recovered footage of the rituals. The commissioner of police called him mad. Laughed. Then the building lights flickered. The commissioner's phone rang, even though it was off. He answered. A child's voice whispered. "You signed their deaths. You buried our screams. You will ride last." His eyes turned black. He stood up and calmly walked out the window from the 8th floor. No scream. just silence. Amora's prophecy. Amora returned to Tafuwa Bewa Square. This time, there was no vigil. Only her. She carried a broken side mirror in her hands. She held it up to the sky. And the clouds turned red. She screamed. They will burn their cars. They will bury their keys. But it is too late. The river knows. The soil remembers. And the dead have begun their work. She collapsed. When people rushed to her, her body was cold. But her shadow remained standing. The river bleeds. At exactly 3 a.m. across multiple locations in Nigeria. Rivers turned red. Not muddy. Blood red. People gathered at Ogun River. At Osen River. At River Niger. Everywhere, the same thing happened. Mirror shards floated on the surface. Drowned bodies rose, not bloated, but fresh. Voices echoed from the water. The Benz must drown. In Lagos Lagoon, a fisherman saw a car submerged beneath the waves, headlights still on. Inside were screaming faces, pressed against the glass. Ebenezer, the last Benz boy. Ibuka fled to Ghana. He changed his name. Grew out his beard. Stopped driving. But every night, his dreams burned. In them, he drove alone, forever, on a road that never ended, with mirrors on both sides. All showing his victims. One night, he woke up screaming and saw the same road outside his window. He looked in the mirror. And instead of his face, he saw Kola. Smiling. Behind Kola stood Tiniola. And she whispered, "You were never driving. You were always the fuel." The lights went out. His screams were heard for 5 blocks. The river has no favorites. It drinks everyone. But when it remembers, it overflows. The blood on your hands can be washed. But not the blood that lives in mirrors. And now, even the river screams. Tiniola's voice. We were 73. Students. Traders. Mates. Lovers. Daughters. Sons. Forgotten. Cut. Burnt. Buried. We bled into the Benz. And now we bleed into you. You watched us disappear. You clapped for wealth built on our pain. You said, no hustle. You said, leave them smart. Now, you will watch us return. Amora shatters the system. Amora stood at the gate of the National Assembly. By now, soldiers refused to stop her. She wasn't alone. She was surrounded by spirits. All dressed like victims. Some carried beer, some prisons have bars. Others have roads. And some have mirrors. The Benz boys thought they were free. But no man drives blood and walks away clean. And now, the gods they fed are hungry again. The gathering storm. The world was watching now. Hundreds of videos flooded social media. Cars reversing into shrines by themselves. Mirrors shattering in public bathrooms, revealing glimpses of the dead. A man who screamed into a camera, "I'm not the driver. The car took me." A little girl found sleeping inside a Benz boot, alive, but her eyes permanently rolled back, whispering the word justice every 60 seconds. Churches tried to fast. Pastors died mid-sermon. Mosques tried to pray. The mosques turned quiet, as if even the call to prayer couldn't reach the spirits anymore. Amora returns to life. Amora's body never decomposed. Even though she had died publicly. She was buried in Lagos Cemetery. But 3 days later, the ground rejected her. Grave cracked open. Body untouched. Eyes open. Breathing. When she walked out, the grass around her turned black. And in her hand was a mirror fragment glowing red hot. She walked straight to the gates of Oso Rock. They didn't let her in. She touched the metal gates. They turned to ash. The true story of the mirror. Inside a hidden vault under the Lagos National Museum, Inspector Ifeanyi found an ancient scroll. Burnt. Torn. But one line repeated over and over. Open each, the mirror of vows. The mirror was older than the British. Older than the shrines. It was once part of a forgotten Ifo oracle, used by priests not to divine the future, but to demand justice from spirits of the murdered. But it was stolen. Used by kings to sacrifice slaves. Later, by soldiers to bury crimes. Finally, by cultists to feed their wallets. They turned it from a voice of the dead into a factory of silence. But now, it wanted to speak again. And it was screaming. Final ride. Kola woke up one night. He was back in the Benz. Backseat. Strapped. Unable to move. He looked into the rearview mirror and saw himself, younger, smiling, greedy. And beside him, Tiniola. She wasn't a ghost anymore. She was power. Eyes burning red. Skin glowing with tribal markings. Brother, she said, you brought me here. Now drive. Kola cried. I'm sorry. It's not about sorry, she replied. It's about balance. Ebenezer's final moment. Ibuka, hiding in Accra under a false name, was found by no one. He walked into the middle of a Ghanaian expressway at night. Wearing only white. Cars honked. Screamed. But none hit him. They passed through him like smoke. He kept walking until he reached a parked black Benz with no driver. No owner. He entered. The doors locked. The windows blacked out. And on the dash was a written message. You fed us with flesh. Now feed us with your truth. The car drove itself into the ocean. Witnesses say the waves boiled for hours. The mirror speaks to Nigeria. At exactly midnight, across the country, all mirrors turned black. Every phone screen. Every TV. Every glass. Even people's eyes. And through them, one voice spoke. Bees. Some wore school uniforms. Some held rosaries, others Qurans. All carried mirror shirts. Amora lifted her hands. And every luxury car within 5 kilometers exploded. Not with fire. But with wailing. The air turned black. The spirits entered the chambers. And for the first time in history, the building of power wept. Kola's last drive. Kola drove the Benz to Ogun River. The same place where it all began. He parked. He walked to the water. Tiniola followed. Behind them, the idols of silence, shattered, bleeding, forgotten. Why me? Kola asked. Because you were the first to doubt, Tiniola said. And that makes you the first to see. Can I die now? Not yet. She kissed his forehead. The river opened. A road formed, glowing red. And Kola drove into it. Alone. The curse ends or begins. Inspector Ifeanyi resigned. He left Lagos. Went to a village without mirrors. Began building a school for orphans of ritual victims. One day, a child drew a car. Black. Bleeding. Smiling. The inspector asked, "What's this?" The child answered, "It's the car that eats people." "Who told you that?" The child smiled. "She did. The girl in my dreams. Her name is Tiniola. She says she's watching now. You don't kill for Benz. Benz kills for you. And when the gods come for payment, there are no police, no lawyers, no pastors. Just you and a mirror, waiting."